We're back. It's the STCW podcast, and we're live. Yes, we've had a little holiday, but now we are back with the STCW podcast. Thank you very much for joining us. If you're listening in, do give us a tweet at Cat's Whiskers TV. Use the hashtag AskTCW. I'm delighted to say that joining me this evening.
Hello?
It's him that's gone then, not us.
Right.
I did wonder.
Okay. Sorry about that, but Aaron appears to have disappeared. Great start to the show. Oh, he's back. He's back. He's back. We're live.
I said hello, Jono, and nobody said anything. So I'll try that again. Hello, Jono.
Hello, Aaron. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah. Hello, Tina. Are you there?
Well, at least he's here. Hello.
And Paul, are you with us as well?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, there we go.
Well.
There we go. Well, we are live, and if you're listening to this later on in the week, you'll be thinking, what the hell is going on here? But anyway, we are live. I'm delighted to welcome you three to the podcast. Let's get cracking, shall we? And what should we start with first? I think we'll start with something that you teased on Monday's podcast. Of course, it's the inflatable panther that we saw on Saturday night. So
we need some inverted commas in there somewhere, don't we?
I'll read through the questions I'll read through the questions that we've had, because we've had one or two. And the first one, Kenwin Jones, what are your thoughts on the new inflatable? Good idea to just use the word inflatable. Dave Bull, how about the new inflatable bear in capital letters? Fantastic. What do you think of that inflatable thingy Panthers have introduced? Richard, the inflatable panther or bear, and good idea blighted by abysmal execution or a naff idea. And finally, Anton Marijuan, why has inflatable paws been met with such a negative reaction? And where does it rank alongside inflatable Scorch and inflatable He-Man? And he puts, P.S. I love it. So, Paul, I will give you the floor.
Right. I'm
Sit
sorry,
back, folks.
I'm sorry, but I've got to disagree. I think it is nothing short of an embarrassment. It's, frankly, it's pathetic. It completely destroys the whole idea of having something that you skate out of. I mean, you look at the other examples out there, the ones we've seen. Perhaps we'll ignore Belfast and Coventry, but you've seen. I've seen ones in places like Berlin where they come out, a roaring polar bear's mouth. In Cologne, where they come out a shark's mouth, and they, compared to that, well, it just looks like a bouncy castle with the bouncy bit cut off the bottom. It's just, I mean, I get the idea that it's supposed to be family friendly. It's the wrong idea, but I get the idea of what they're driving for. These things are supposed to create a sense of atmosphere. It's supposed to create. I mean, let's face it, an inflatable anything is not going to be particularly intimidating. But we've gone completely the other way. We might as well come out to the Teletubbies music. Are we a sporting organisation that does whatever it can to create an atmosphere, to create an advantage for the team to win, or is it just a fun night out for the kids? We've reached a decision. We've reached a point where we've got to make a decision, I think, of what we're actually going to do, because stuff like that is more WWE than actual valid sport. And breathe.
And breathe. Okay, well, I think you've made your point and feelings on that pretty clear. Tina, I'll come to you next. What's your thoughts on what we saw Saturday night?
I think I'm still recovering from Paul's feelings there. It's quite a strong opinion, but yeah, which is fair enough. Perhaps controversially, I'm quite ambivalent to it. If, fine. The Panthers want to make something of the intro, which various fans have been calling for. And you want to set the tone, set the atmosphere. And I think to specifically answer Rich Haloka's question, not the sort of Panther or Bear question, because I think that it doesn't look right. I think we can all agree that it doesn't look like it should. It does look a bit of it. To look at it, it looks a bit of a joke, to be perfectly honest. And I just sort of I came into the arena, I looked at it and I kind of rolled my eyes at it and thought, all right, okay, fair enough, moving on, let's get to the hockey. And that's kind of how I felt like it. But to specifically answer the second part of the question, it's a good idea, and we've seen, as Paul says, we've seen examples of it where it can be executed very well, and I think that's the problem. I did mention, I can't remember if I mentioned it off air or on air, but apparently it doesn't look the way it's supposed to. It doesn't look the way it was promised. But my point to that, if it doesn't look like it's supposed to, then don't put it out. If you're not happy with it, send it back. that's just. I just think I think it's a decent idea, but very poorly executed.
Jono, I'll come to you next, and just before I come to you, I'm going to read out what Ken, the DJ and Panthers MC, tweeted after Saturday night, and he just says, "I'm surprised that the tunnel reaction has been quite so negative. For years, people have wanted the club to make more of the entrance. The design may not meet all tastes. It is a scaled-up pause. It is something fun for the kids. Hey ho, it might look like a bit of a giant bear, but it's our giant bear, so let's get behind it and have some fun." Jono, what are your thoughts on because you wasn't there on Saturday, so you obviously only saw pictures and what you saw on Twitter.
I mean that's Ken there saying let's get behind it. By the look on its face, something's definitely got behind it.
Wow,
it's not 9 o'clock yet.
But look, I think it's a great idea. I think anything that helps with the match night presentation is good. However, it has been incredibly poorly executed. It doesn't look right. I mean, even the look on its face, it just looks scared. It's just not right. And Paul was right that we've seen it in Europe. I mean, me and Paul have been to DEL games, and we mentioned Cologne and Krefeld and Dusseldorf, where we've been to, and they come out through inflatable tunnels, and it's all part of the show, and it's done very professionally. Once again, we've had a great idea, but it's just been so badly executed, and it's made us a laughingstock. And I don't like seeing the team I support made into a laughingstock. And once again, we've got fans from other teams taking the mick, and frankly, we've got no answer to them. It's just bad. And I just get so frustrated with the way that these things are so badly executed. Yes, they are great ideas, and done properly it will be fantastic. Just sadly it has not been done properly.
On that point, talking about the execution as it was being rolled out, someone said to me it's going to be like that scene in Phoenix Nights. The Sammy the Snake one. And I think it's probably even worse than that. I mean, I was one of the people who said, I've been saying for years we should skate out of an inflatable panther's head. But, a roaring inflatable panther's head not something that looks as though it's just come from an 8-year-old's birthday party.
True. I mean, for me, I'm not sure we really do need to skate out of an inflatable. I mean, if you think back to, I know, obviously, Johnny, you said about the DL teams. When we went to Hamburg, they skated out of the tunnel, and it is very popular across Europe and even in some NHL teams as well. But I don't know. For me, I mean, I don't like it. I don't think it's to the level that we should have as our match presentation. And if we're looking at improving match night presentation, there's a screen that should be replaced before anything else for me. I know that is probably 10 times the amount of money that they paid for that inflatable, but that I think would have more of an effect than some inflatable that they skate out of. But if you're listening now or you're listening in a couple of days, whenever you're listening to this, do let us know what you feel about the inflatable. Get in touch. It's at Catwhiskers TV and the hashtag is AskTCW. We'll move on to a couple of other questions because we have got a lot to go through. And something that came out over the weekend as well is that from the Steelers confirmed that there will be no webcast for the Nottingham games. And that is because of pubs showing the webcast at non-commercial rates. So again, Anton Marijuan wants to know, what are our thoughts and should the pubs be named and...
He's gone again. Right, the question is, Steelers confirm no webcast for Nottingham games because of pubs showing the webcast at non-commercial rates. What are our thoughts and should the pubs be named and shamed? Paul, I'll come to you first.
We've got to be a bit careful here, haven't we?
Yeah.
For me, I think I can see why they're doing it. It's the webcast is a revenue stream, obviously, and they're trying to protect that. On the other hand, they're talking about non-commercial rates. Having heard what they want to charge, I'm not surprised that a pub or pubs is trying to find a way around that.
What do you think about them actually not saying, right, that's it, no webcast for Nottingham?
If they don't want the money, fine. I mean, how many people are going to those pubs? How many £8 are they losing in total? We don't know that.
Okay, Tina, what's your thoughts?
Well, yeah, as Paul says, we've got to be a bit careful, with us being a team that doesn't do a webcast in the first place, sort of picking holes in them that choose when they do it or not, is very dodgy ground. But it is a service that they offer, and it's a service that they it's a service that they feel is being exploited, which if like Paul says, we don't know how many people are going to going to these webcasts that are being put up in whatever pubs it is that's doing it. But pubs have also got to feel like they're making their money. So if the commercial rate is what we heard it was, then I would suggest that pubs paying that commercial rate probably aren't going to get their money back. So, yeah, it's in terms of what I think about it. I think it's a little bit, and it was obviously a little bit annoying for the fans because I don't travel up to Sheffield very often, and I do appreciate them having the webcast service. So, in terms of would I go up there if there is no webcast, that would be a decision closer to the day. I might do, I might not. But being no webcast available I don't think that really affects my decision on whether I go to a game or not.
When you read it, it does almost feel as though they're sort of cutting their nose off to spite their face.
Yeah, that's probably my thoughts on it a bit. Because I believe that blocking an IP address is quite easy. So they just find out the IP address and they just block it, and whatever pubs are using it, that it just won't go there. And sorry, go on.
The problem with that is there are ways and means of getting round that. So same with anything else. I mean, yes, that's right. If I was in a similar situation, that is what I would do. But it's not
Mm.
foolproof.
I believe Aaron is back with us.
Hello, gang.
Back over to you.
Okay, I heard everything that you just said there, so
I'll go to
we
the
will
bench.
move on to we will move on to a different.
Oh, he hasn't gone again.
He's gone again. And he's gone again. I'm back off the bench. I've had a quick breather, a slug of water, and now I'm back. Okay, we shall move on to our next question. Oh, God, I love live shows. It comes from Richard Sisson, Cisco72. He says, why doesn't Brian McGrattan get more power play time? Big man in front of the net, he works. Tina, you have a go at that one.
I don't know, the sort of direct tactical reason why Brian McGrattan isn't used on the power play, but I don't think it's a tactic that. I don't know. I don't really pay much attention to the guy who's in front of the. I know we do use that tactic, but I think we seem to prefer the more, so somebody a bit more skilled to be in front of the netminder, just in case, the sort of, opportune rebound comes up or whatever. I mean, he could be quite useful in front of the net, but I don't know. I mean, I don't think he would have seen much power play time in the NHL. So it could be a case of experience. That's a possible reason, I suppose. But there's plenty of different tactics that can be used for the power play, and I think that one seems to be the one that we use the least. So, maybe it's just it's a tactical decision that the coaches have chosen to go with, or as I say, the other part that maybe from my perspective is maybe the experience thing.
I saw McGrattan get a lot of power play time when we was in the Continental Cup in Hacker, and okay, it was against lesser opposition, shall we say, but he was incredibly effective. He was being used as that big man screen in front of the net, and it was quite successful. He was causing a lot of havoc. In both his goals were scored from rebounds from the netminder that he then poked in. I mean, Paul, if it's worked in the Continental Cup, then surely it's worth giving a try in the Elite League.
It's worked in more places than the Continental Cup. It's worked in the NHL before now. He's a big man. Because you have to admit, all right, maybe he's not got the hands of some of the other people that they could put in front. In front of the net. So he's not going to get the tips and all that. But if he's then screening the keeper and he's being difficult to shift, then those with the puck round the perimeters have got more of a chance of scoring. But I mean, going back to Tina's point about it's the tactics we use least. Well, maybe we should look at using it, because how many times have we said look at when Corey was still playing, our power play consisted of one thing: pass it backwards and forwards between the two defensemen, and eventually one of them would shoot. So you've got to. It's all right finding a formula that works. You've got to do that, but by the same token, you've also got to mix things up, because people get used to what you're going to do very quickly these days.
A comment we've just had from Max Artist. He's got in touch at CastleWhiskers TV, #AskTCW. He said, can't see McGrattan staying with the team till the end of the season. Looking happy, in my opinion. Thoughts?
Looking unhappy. Sorry to correct you.
Yeah.
That is rather important.
Yeah, looking unhappy.
Yeah.
I've never seen a picture of him where he looked happy.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be. He's not an overly happy guy. I mean, you look at if you stand Cam Jansen and Brian McGrattan side by side, you've got you've got complete opposites going on there. I mean, Cam Jansen was a guy who was always enthusiastic and always up for it and always happy, and whenever you see him off the ice, he was smiling. And McGrattan's more of a measured sort of I don't know what the word is, but he's just a bit more
quiet.
Well, just to simplify it. But I wouldn't disagree with what Max was saying based on Saturday. I mean, Saturday he seemed a bit. I don't know. He just wanted to fight someone, and he did seem a bit. I don't know. It seemed a bit grumpy with it.
But that the way it looked, that was one thing more than a lot of the team wanted to do.
Well, yeah.
Well, another of the questions we had, and sort of relates to this, from Dill 1015 on the Panthers cage. He said, "Has McGrattan had the impact you were hoping for?" Paul.
Yes and no. I mean, he's come in and done what he did. I mean, I think in a lot of ways, yes. Last weekend aside, hopefully that was a blip. You watch him. I think he's better than I thought he'd be. And he's obviously got a hockey brain. He makes room. If you watch a lot of the time, he's in a whole lot of space. And maybe there's no point so far, so maybe we just got to look at using him better. Stick him on the power play. Stick him in front of the netminder.
Aaron, are you there?
Hello.
So your thoughts on McGrattan?
Yeah, let him talk before he goes off again.
Well, I think Paul covered it perfectly on Monday, really, when talking about McGrattan, and I just think that too many people were looking for, Cam Mark II. And as Paul said on Monday's podcast, the only thing that is the similarity between Cam and McGrattan is the word enforcer. They are two completely different players, and you could have both of your players in your roster. So I think he hasn't had the impact of his checking, his hitting, that kind of energy lift that maybe we were looking for. But he has got better hockey skills than Cam had. So, but he's scored no points. So you would hope that soon we would see some points production from him, because when we signed him, I think we did a podcast. I can't remember who was on it, but we all said that he would be good for, I think we said 20 points or something over the season, maybe. So. I think he's got to improve that, obviously, but so do we as a team.
Okay. Moving on to a question that we had from Rob North, and Rob asked a question a few weeks ago, 5 or 6 weeks ago, about Matt Carter, asking how long he had left, because he wasn't too impressed with how he started. And he asked now, I wonder if the opinion on Matt Carter has changed yet, doing the little things and contributing to a winning side. I think it was last time. So, Tina, Matt Carter.
Matt Carter. I think it was possible for him to have a bit of grace, beginning of the season. There were other guys who were scoring. We've lost a couple of guys long term who seem to be. I mean, especially Lawrence. He was starting to really find his form. I don't know. I would have preferred to have seen Carter getting up in the points more. And sort of getting, especially getting in the goals more, and sort of filling that gap that Lawrence seems to have created, and then left behind. Now he's injured, so I'm a little bit disappointed with his points production, and I can't really say that he's being steady. But at this point of the season, and with the injuries we've got, I think we need more.
Paul.
I pretty much agree with what Tina said. for me, we need a lot more from him, especially with the injuries. But it's somebody once said it gets late very early, especially with the Knights drawing in. But one of the things that infuriates me about Panthers is how long it takes for us to react to situations. I mean, 2 seasons ago, we needed a sniper in September. We got one in January. We're told there are no players out there. All this, that, and the other. And then you watch. I mean, I know that's not been said this time. Nothing's been said, but we get told things like there's no players out there. We'll see how they go week to week. This, that, and the other. Sheffield lose a player. Well, announced they've lost a player on Friday. They announced the following Tuesday that they've signed a player who could potentially be better, or Monday or whenever it was. But if we're going to compete, we have to make the decisions. I'm not saying we should make knee-jerk decisions at all. You've got to do but we've got to do what's best for the team. It comes back to what I was saying earlier. Are we a sporting organisation, or just a fun night out?
Yeah, I mean, following on from that, we had a question from Ted Logan on the cage. He says, 2 months in, do our underperforming players get gassed, or do we give them more time? If so, how much more? Aaron?
I think it depends if we have another weekend that we've just had. I think if we do have another weekend, then I think we've got to look at some players, really looking over their shoulder, because we have a WhatsApp group and we had a chat about this the other day. For me, we've got too many imports that just aren't scoring points. They're either too similar or they're not scoring enough points. And to be fair, the previous question, Matt Carter falls into that for me. Between 4 imports, I think it was, we've got 15 points. Now, for me, that's not good enough at this moment, especially when our 2 top point scorers are out injured. Somebody has to stand up and say, look, I'm going to, carry us through this kind of rough patch, etc. And at the moment, we don't have that. So I would say, you're looking at maybe two weeks, see how we get on. Do we have a reaction? And if we don't, then I think for me, some players might be lucky to be in a job still.
Is that a Tina, Paul, anything to add to that?
Not really. I think I've pretty much answered that a couple of minutes ago anyway, but I just agree with everything Aaron said.
Tina?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I think on the Matt Carter, I've been massively disappointed because I was expecting a lot more from him, and I was in gap where he spent the previous 2 seasons at the start of the season, and the fans there were telling me what a great player he was and what a great player he was again for them, and how gutted they were to lose him. So I was expecting big things from him, and it's just really not materialised. He was very, very good in the Continental Cup, I will say that, but again, it was not that great opposition that we were playing against. And so in the Elite League, he has been sadly pretty invisible. So I do wonder how much time he's got left, if I'm honest, and I do wonder if maybe a replacement is on the cards. But you never know, he may score a couple of hat tricks this weekend, and we'll wonder why we was ever talking about it. But
there is another side to this that that we have to consider, in the fact that let's say we get rid of Carter. How's that going to affect Lawrence and Brown?
True. Yeah, I mean, that's a very good point, because they essentially came as a package, didn't they? Where a big thing was made on how they all knew each other.
Well, the only thing I would say to that is that, that a lot of them make a big deal about, it's sport and these things happen, and you have to accept that. So they have to be professionals about it. And if they are going to, go mooning over the fact that their mate has been sent home, then they may very well find themselves going the same way. Because I'd like to think that the coaches wouldn't put up with that kind of attitude.
Okay. Next question. Dan Green in the Green Room. What's your thoughts on the new show, Right Length? If I could give my thoughts on this, I really like it. I think it's good. It's relaxed. It's about 10 minutes long. It's good fun. But there's plenty of information in there. He does give some very, very good interviews, and I think it's a really, really good addition to the Panthers media output. But that's my thoughts. Aaron, have you watched it?
I've seen an episode. Well, I can't say I'm a massive fan, if I'm honest. I think Dan Green does a good job, but I don't get why we're asking one of our backup netminders to interview, people of the Panthers. I don't get that personally. His job should be concentrating on training and being the player. And I don't think it shows him in a good light some ways, because it's like, well, they've gone on the mimic of Dan Green in the Green Room. Why can't we just do a nice 20-minute weekly show? It's not difficult in my eyes. It's not difficult.
We managed it, yeah.
Well, yeah. Some people might not say that's a good example, but I don't know. I find it a bit uneasy seeing somebody that could potentially on the Saturday be chucked in, in between the pipes to win us a game, and then the following midweek he's interviewing, Mika Wheatman on a bike and stuff. I don't know. It's a bit uneasy for me.
Fair enough. Okay. So that question was from Elaine Buck, and she did send it a couple of weeks ago, so thank you for that, Elaine. A question from Facebook. It comes from one of our regular faces here. Well, I wouldn't say faces, but Adam Reddish, who's been on the show a few times. He says, how worried should Panthers fans be that Nielsen's request for a response to the Edinburgh debacle was met with another disappointing defeat? And what does this say about the players in the locker room? Paul?
Oh, I knew you'd ask me. Well, yes, it's disappointing. And it worries you. It does worry you because but the same token, just because Nielsen wanted a reaction doesn't mean Braid were going to let him have one. But I mean, after the Braid game, he said he wanted wanted fast solutions. Well, Courier 747 travels at over 500 miles an hour, and I'd call that pretty quick. Not for him, but maybe one or two of the people out on the ice maybe should be catching a plane, maybe.
Okay. Tina?
Well, fast doesn't appear to be in the Panthers' vocabulary. Imminent signings are that's an interesting one. Waiting for that, and wanting a reaction after the Edinburgh game that we didn't. I mean, maybe that reaction is coming this weekend. Who knows? That would be nice. I would accept that. But yeah, I think it is a bit worrying. It's a bit worrying in a sense that we've allowed two defeats that feel like like they do to have passed like that, and it's. I don't know what it says about the players in the locker room, because I mean it's like I said on Monday about Saturday's game. They were trying. You could see the players were trying. It's just that nothing was working. Nothing was connecting, and everything was just slightly off. But the effort was there. They wanted things to start working, and when nothing started working, they got visibly downhearted about it, and that just it just breeds You know, when that sort of feeling is within the team, it breeds, and unfortunately, it seems to have carried over to the following night. So, how worried should we be? I mean, if like that's already been said, if we have another weekend like we've just had, I think we should be very worried. We need that. We need a reaction, and if it doesn't come this weekend, then I think the players in the locker room need to be a little bit concerned, because I think one or two of them are going to be maybe seeking other employment in the not too distant future.
Aaron, do you think there's been a bit of a knee-jerk reaction to the previous weekend, considering the results we had in the month prior to that?
I wouldn't necessarily call it knee-jerk. But I think it was just, I don't know, Saturday was a very strange game. I mean, I listened to obviously Monday's podcast, and I can remember Tina saying that, you know, I can't remember what happened, but she nearly walked out, but she didn't accept. I walked out with 10 minutes to go. I walked out when Jeff Brown got a 2-minute slashing call on their netminder, and there was about 10-minute 46 to go or something, because I just had enough. It just wasn't a good performance, and just nothing was going right. And I thought after the Continental Cup that we should have been better, and I didn't really want to stay around to watch any more of that performance. But it's sport, isn't it? You get down, you get very low with the lows, and you get very high with the highs. So I wouldn't necessarily call it knee-jerk, but we'll see what this weekend, you know, provides, really, I suppose.
Okay. Another question. This comes from Matthew Dodd on Facebook. Should we be worried about the lack of Brits we have now compared to the start of last season? Having lost Paul Swindlehurst, Matthew Myers and Sam Oakford, none of whom have been replaced. Tina?
Yes. Once upon a time, we could very easily claim to have the strongest Brit corps in the Elite League, and I don't think that's true now. I think we've lost, you know, Matthew Myers. We had to accept that was going to happen because he was in a very awkward situation. Paul Swindlehurst, I thought we might have half a chance of bringing him back, and when we didn't, when he stayed at Manchester, I was a bit disappointed about that. But I thought, oh, we'll be all right. We've got Sam Oakford, and then he went. so and you know, with Stevie Lee having been out as well, it's really exposed. And we don't get me wrong, we've got good Brits, but we can no longer claim to have the best Brit corps in the Elite League.
Okay, Paul?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much sums it up for me as well. And the thing you've also got to look at is that the Brits, you know, some of the Brits we have got are not exactly in the first flush of youth. I mean, you know, as good as Clark is, you know, he is 35, and he's not going to be able to do what he does forever.
Aaron?
No, I fully agree with what Tina said, and Paul backing it up. The fact that we did used to have the best Brit pack by a mile in my eyes, and we haven't. And if I was the Panthers, I would be ringing up Mr. Ben Davis and trying to get him to come and be a Panther for the remainder of the season, because he's obviously just been released, and we need another Brit.
Okay. Question from Kieran Brasher, who Kiev the Great. He says, still early days, but are suggestions about the growing strength of the Gardner Conference exaggerated? Paul?
They were on Saturday night. No, they weren't on Saturday night even.
Or Sunday.
Or Sunday. I'm still getting over Saturday. That blooming inflatable bear. I don't know. I think at times the whole thing's been blown out of proportion in the opposite direction. You know, people were making out it was worse than it is, but I don't know really. Is what I'm trying to say.
Tina?
Well, I think the strength of the Gardner Conference is a little bit tempered at the moment by the form of the Brayhead clan. I think they were obviously one of the shining areas, the shining lights, if you will, of the Gardner Conference. They, would be able to get a few games and be there or thereabouts, but they're looking fragile, and I think that it's probably highlighted the strength of the other teams, but yeah, I mean the Gardner Conference improves season on season. It's got to, because it can't afford to not be. It can't afford to not be strong, because if and they do have the ability to go to Earhart teams and take points. So I don't think the growing strength is exaggerated, because they can't afford to not have that growing strength.
I think they certainly are getting stronger, and I think the parity is getting a lot closer than what it used to be. And if you look at the league now, and okay, there's an odd number of games, but you've got 5 Manchester in 4th and 6th, Brayhead 7th, Edinburgh 8th, and then Dundee 10th. So that would suggest that it's not, but the points difference is very, very close. I mean, Manchester and Fife especially have improved massively season on season, and it's like you say, any team can take points from any other on any other night. Aaron, your thoughts?
I don't think they're exaggerated. I think, look, the league's been growing year on year in strength, and that conference is 50% of the league. So I think it has been growing in strength, like Tina and Paul have said, and yourself. And I think it will just carry on being like that as the league grows as well. So I think it's a partnership, isn't it? Our conference gets tougher, and the Gardner Conference gets tougher as well. So no, I don't think it's exaggerated.
Okay, that's all the questions we have. Just time to look at some of the reaction on Twitter. Stephen Elliott says, the issue regarding the inflatable isn't the inflatable per se, was the decision to change Paws, in particular his nose colour to yellow/gold. He looks nothing like a panther now. Paul, your reaction to that?
How long have you got?
We've got about 2 minutes. So.
You see, I couldn't really give a monkeys whether we had a mascot or not. I don't know. Maybe it's right that the yellow bit across the back makes it look even less like a panther. But you don't see bears with yellow stripes across the back, but that's what it looks like. I'm sorry, you were asking the wrong person that question. You really are.
I think we will leave it there for tonight. I want to say many, many thanks to you if you sent in a question. Plenty of variety as always this week. We will be back tomorrow with our live weekend preview podcast. So join us for that, live at 8:45 p.m. as usual. All that's left is to say thank you very much to Tina Taylor,
TTFN,
Aaron Lord.
Thank you, Jono.
Paul Balm.
Very much, thank you.
And thank you very much to you for tuning in and listening. As I say, we'll be back tomorrow at 8:45, but until then, ta-da.